Wow, the Flower Kingdom is beautiful. I can't wait to, run and jump through it and stuff.
You haven't even seen the best part. Check out this wonder flower.
Wonder flower, huh? Well, what does this do?
Eat this and you'll be treated to some kind of fantastical effect that helps you out.
Oh, wow. Did you say I have to eat it?
Well, yeah, what else would you do?
I kind of thought I would just, touch it and then I'd collect it automatically or something.
That's not how things work in the real world. If you want the crazy reality-bending effect, you've got to eat the flower.
Okay. Here goes, I guess.
Good. Don't forget the petals.
Is that enough?
2 more bites.
Oh.
There you go.
Okay, I did it.
Oh, wow! Now you get to go through the level as a rock.
And how long does this last?
Until you get the Wonder Seed at the end.
Hey, Florian?
Yeah?
When I turn back to normal, I'm eating you next.
Ooh!
I'm not nearly as big of a Mario fan as most people. I do love Mario, don't get me wrong, but I am not as attached to his 2D games as I could be, not by a long shot. I didn't really grow up playing them. Everyone else seemed to have and enjoy the classic games, and I mean everyone else, but they didn't grab me for some reason. I guess even from a young age, I've just never been that into 2D platformers. I played plenty of them back when they dominated the gaming space, and that was pretty much all I had to play. But once technology allowed for different genres to really take root, I went after those. Something about 2D platformers just feels a little too shallow for my tastes. And there's nothing wrong with the genre, this really is just a personal thing. I just get a little bored when gameplay is too simple. I want more to sink my teeth into. 3D Mario? Love that guy. That extra dimension, the more developed ideas, wider spaces to explore. There you go. You've got my attention. RPG Mario? Oh, he gets me. The deeper mechanics, the humor, the stories, the sense of adventure. Yes, I am there. But 2D Mario, me and him just never really hit it off. I'll get the itch to mess around with a 2D game from time to time, but I never really get into it, you know? One big exception though, Yoshi's Island. That's because Yoshi's Island is interesting. It's weird, it's got all these bizarre enemies, it's got an incredible art style, and entirely unique gameplay. You never know what kind of cool thing you're gonna see next in Yoshi's Island. That is the kind of 2D platformer I'm interested in. That was the last time I was really into a 2D Mario game. And next September, Yoshi's Island will celebrate its 100th birthday. It's like after the Super NES, after Nintendo pioneered, then repeatedly re-revolutionized one of gaming's biggest, broadest genres, they decided, they were just kinda done. At least when it came to Mario himself. They just didn't feel like making interesting 2D Mario games anymore. And I guess they didn't need to be fair. The new Super Mario Bros. Games were well designed, but entirely bereft of the kind of energy and creative flair I was looking for. Yet they sold like gangbusters. They sold so well. Because everyone loves 2D Mario. It doesn't matter if he's a little bland, a little predictable. At least you know what you're getting. And after all these years, I don't know what led Nintendo to finally decide it was time to actually try again. To do something interesting with Mario. To do more than the bare minimum. And I know that sounds harsh, but the new Super Mario Bros. Games really do feel like the bare minimum when it comes to creativity, interesting ideas, innovation. They don't feel like developers having fun and making art. They feel like workers doing a job, clocking in for the day, making sure Mario eats mushrooms and jumps on Goombas and says wahoo and going home. And I'm not saying that's what actually happened, those are the actual conditions under which the game was made. I'm sure lots of the devs were very proud of those games. It's just how the end product feels to me. I don't want to spend too much of this review trash-talking those games, but just a little more. The new Super Mario Bros. Games, to me, are like sitting down in a room with no furniture or decorations and eating a plain burger with no frills and no sides. And it's a good burger. You will gladly eat this burger as many times as it's served to you. But man, it would be so much better with some special sauce, maybe some pickles, definitely some fries, some restaurant ambience, a song and a free sundae on my birthday. All those things that radically improve the burger eating experience. Literally anything more than just the absolute bare minimum, which is a solid burger. Meat in a bun. That's what those games are. Point is, I don't know why they didn't want to do more with those 4 entire games. I don't know why, after so many bland games, they waited another decade before giving us another 2D Mario at all. But they finally did it. They made a 2D Mario that is interesting. They made one that grabbed the attention of a biased old monster like me. But not only that, they finally made a Mario with its own identity that doesn't just ape the old games, waving nostalgia in your face and begging you to let go, turn your brain off, slip into the warm blanket of comfortable familiarity. Mario's always here for you. Mario never changes. Just think about your childhood while you eat some mushrooms and stomp some Goombas and shout wahoo. No, this game does not do that. Super Mario Bros. Wonder pushes the series forward. For the first time since the classics, we have a Mario game that stands shoulder to shoulder with those giants. What I love about the game is that it's completely self-aware. It knows how stale Mario has gotten over the years. It knows that many people, like me, have struggled with Mario's creative limitations. And it doesn't just break free of those limitations, it does so with aplomb, with a wink and a smile, as if to say, sorry we took so long, here's the game you've been waiting for. The name Wonder is absolutely perfect. It's literally perfect. A sense of wonder comes from seeing something truly novel, something unexpected, something beautiful, maybe even shockingly so. And that's this game's entire thing. Its whole goal is to surprise the player at every turn. Some of these surprises are small, like having a new jump noise. A newcomer might not understand what the big deal is, but with an old-timer like Mario, even something as seemingly insignificant as a sound effect is a big deal. And Mario's jump? That's like the thing that he does most. That's the Mario thing. But to just casually be like, oh yeah, it's like a cute little violin string sound now. That's mind-blowing. The series is so old that breaking any tradition or adding any kind of fun new flair feels like a big deal. But then you've got this whole talking flower thing, which is such an absurdly out there idea.
Going up or going down?
If before Wonder you'd gotten 1,000 people to come up with 1,000 predictions for future Mario games, I am very doubtful that any of them would have come up with, the game is commentated by a talking flower. It's just so random. And you know, this definitely ran the risk of making the game a lot less enjoyable for me. I hate constant quips in games, and yeah, this very much has that, well, that just happened kind of energy that's infecting games and movies and shows alike. But somehow, I really didn't end up minding it. And you can even turn off the voice if you want, which actually I never ended up doing.
Oh, was it something I said?
It's kind of nice to have these little guys pop in here and there, commenting on whatever you're doing. It gives the game a lot more character. It feels less lonely. And some of the lines are actually kind of funny.
Oh, what is it? Can a guy get some shut-eye around here?
If anything, though, it's the surprise factor I appreciate most. The sheer novelty of being so different. It's such a non-Mario feature that it lends to the whole theme of breaking tradition and doing the unexpected. And even more surprising is the game's character style. Nintendo does not like to let anyone alter their characters. This is a conversation we have had many times. They make their artists follow character bibles to a T, and there is very little room for unique creative expression within each game. Sometimes the environments around the characters can change and be interesting, but Mario has always got to look exactly like Mario. In Wonder, they finally eased up on that rule, and the result is so fresh and fun. Mario is no longer just a perfect 3D Mario model posed into a jumping position. His model now plays to the camera. It's stylish, it emulates the sprite work of the classic games, and he is now so much more expressive. His facial expressions, the little animations that play when he goes through pipes. Yet again, this is really nothing special in the greater gaming sphere, but coming from Mario, it means the world. It's a bummer that the other characters haven't been animated with quite so much artistic finesse, but everyone still looks fantastic. They're all expressive, their animations are great, and I particularly love their voices.
It's me, Luigi.
It just feels like everyone has got so much more to say, and all the Yoshis have different voices, and the two Toads basically have different personalities. None of this was necessary, yet it does even more to push the idea that this game is surprising. This game is more, and doing more even when you don't strictly have to makes a game feel so much more special. That's what Mario's been missing. Even just the character roster itself feels like a wild new thing when you consider how things have been historically. You mean the game doesn't just start with 4 characters, only adding more through unlockables or DLC? You mean it's not just Mario, Luigi, and 2 Toads? What do you mean Daisy is in the game? Daisy doesn't belong in mainline games. That's against the rules. No one's ever said that that was a rule, but it clearly was, just looking at the games. Doesn't matter. Rules are stupid. Daisy's in this one, because that's Super Mario Bros. Wonder. Mario is now free. One more note about the character roster, though. It's interesting how they all function identically this time around. Since Mario 2, we've been used to each character moving differently and sometimes even having different abilities. But outside of the Yoshis and Nabbit, they are all the same here. This was necessary because of the badge system, which would be hard to implement individually across the roster. It's true that I do kind of miss the uniqueness, but overall, I'm fine with it. It makes the game feel more balanced, it's simpler, it lets you just pick whoever's your favorite rather than who has the stats you like, which is all nice. Now, when it comes to the world and the overall visual style, it's less a case of Mario breaking free of limitations and more a case of the people working on the game simply making an effort to do something new and interesting. Like again, I'm not trying to be mean and insult anyone, it's just a fact that until now, 2D Mario games haven't tried to be interesting. That's just not what they were into. They wanted to be fun and remind everyone of the good old days. That's it. I actually imagine the artists working on those games just like dying inside, wishing they could do more. Then finally one day the producers give them Mario Wonder and are like, okay, how about you do whatever you want with this? And all the artists go crazy. Wonder feels like the result of the floodgates finally opening, the pressure finally releasing. Every single inch of the world and all its inhabitants, it's all gorgeous and interesting. I can't even tell you how much I appreciate that the team chose to rely mostly on new enemies. The favorites are all there, but more often than not, you go up against weird new baddies with weird new mechanics. And despite being brand new, they've all got so much personality. I mean, just look at Hoppy Cats. They peek out from their shells and watch your every movement so they know when to copy you. It's adorable. And the older enemies are more expressive than ever. The way they freak out whenever they're about to be defeated, it's just hilarious. And that attention to detail runs through the entire game. Super Mario Bros. Wonder looks ridiculously good. Individual level elements look mostly familiar, but everything has got a little coat of extra shine on it. And the way it all gels into a cohesive whole is remarkable. It's got a style that feels impossibly slick, remarkably clean. We're talking squeaky clean. The art is still tile-based, so it's not technically as beautiful and impressive as some other 2D platformers with individually crafted levels. But this doesn't feel like a detriment. It's actually a strength. Because the art designers do so much within this limitation that it still gives the game a very strong, unique style that fits Mario so well. It's kind of like 3D World, where the simple geometric visuals are very easy on the eyes, except it still manages to be a lot more stylish overall. It's clean, but it's also interesting. And it's funny because one reason the game's style works so well is that it imitates 2D art. Many elements look like 2D renders, and there are some enemies that look like 2D sprites until you see them move the right way. The game isn't trying to look completely 2D, but it manages to land in this weird middle ground where it's got the depth and complexity of 3D graphics, but the clean look of 2D as well. It also employs heavy use of 2D assets when it comes to effects. Impact lines when you strike something, the little pictures that pop up behind you when you grab a power-up. Lots of different elements are all drawn in clean 2D, and it looks fantastic. I think it's truly remarkable how similar Wonder looks to the new Super Mario Bros. Games when you examine individual elements and common visual themes. But when you zoom out and look at each game as a whole, the difference is somehow night and day. I mean, even just the color. The colors in this game, they pop like crazy. It uses so many colors that it's like the whole world has an underlying rainbow sheen to it. I tell you, those older games got the job done just fine. But Wonder is a work of passion by artists at the top of their game. I mean, just look at the backgrounds. Level backgrounds are super important to me. I find myself simply staring at them a lot in basically any game. They really help me immerse myself in the world. And they serve as extra eye candy to make the overall experience more enjoyable. And golly, these backgrounds do not disappoint. This ain't no new Super Mario Bros. U situation where there's that one level that looks cool and then that's it. Nah, there are more gorgeous vistas here than I can count. And they all manage to look amazing and imaginative while still adhering to that clean geometric style. It's all new and beautiful while still feeling rooted and cohesive. Honestly, I think it's one of the best looking games Nintendo has put out, full stop. But it has nothing to do with horsepower and everything to do with pure, refined style.
Great job completing that badge challenge. It took you a couple hundred tries, but you earned it. Now you get to keep the Endless Suffering badge, which prevents you from jumping and turns every power-up into a poison shroom, and puts ink on the screen like in Mario Kart, and randomly inputs button commands, and causes damage if you don't collect a coin every 5 seconds, and brings back the time limit, and removes checkpoints, and makes you look like a giant baby with a big diaper, and turns all the menus into black screens you've got to navigate without looking. Would you like to wear this
No! If we're talking about beauty, though, we've got to mention that dang world map. I love how you have the standard isometric camera angles, but then the camera can move around as needed depending on where you are. The way you climb your way up through the hills in Pipe Rock Plateau. The way Deep Magma Bog is more of a straight-on cross-section of a volcano. These are small details, but they feel great. Since the levels employ that cleaner 2D-looking style, it's always fun to run around a world map rendered in full 3D. The world theming is commendable. None of this is plain old Mario. Even the first world, the game's introduction, the one that has every right to be bog standard Mario, has got this theme of shimmering, colorful hills. And Petal Isles also could have been more basic, seeing as it's the hub that connects everything together, but no, it's this serene, beachy kind of thing, because nothing is generic here. You've got a cloud world, which is something we've seen before, but it genuinely feels like you're climbing a towering mountain. The sense of verticality is very novel. Then instead of a basic desert, this one is all about secrets and illusions, and it's got this huge, colorful sandcastle. The lava world has also got this weird kind of bottom of the ocean theme. There's a waterfall place that uses this theme of perfectly isometric cubes, but it allows the camera to move and break the illusion, so a lot of it is flawless, but then some is slightly warped, but in like a cool way. Every place is just so much fun to look at. The themes are so strong. Even beyond the visuals though, this is the world map I have been waiting for. I've always wondered, why are these 30-year-old Mario maps so much better than the new ones? At what point did Nintendo just decide not to do anything interesting with their maps anymore? I think it's another one of those things maybe some people enjoy, but it doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things, so it's been ignored. Not anymore though. This world map is terrific because, just like everything else, it's less rigid. It doesn't follow an exact structure. It's more interesting. Is this world map made of linear lines connected together, or is it free roam? Well, how about both? This isn't a gimmick. This is just the way the game wants to be. It's linear or free roam depending on what's needed. And there are secrets hiding all over the place. The idea of levels themselves literally being obscured somehow and you've got to reveal them? Something about that is just so clever to me. And it always kept me running around all over the place, mashing A like a lunatic, hoping to find the next juicy secret. Sometimes your reward for finding a secret is some coins or a one-up. Sometimes you'll find a pipe that brings you to Captain Toad and gives you a little taste of a different world. Sometimes a secret will just lead you off into a new little chunk of the map with a whole new batch of levels. In previous games, you could usually tell when a level had a secret exit because you could see where the alternate path should go. But here, finding the secret exit in a level and having that path just push into unmarked territory, sometimes offering multiple new levels, the sense of reward is, it's incredible. Even more, having one special world with secret entrances all over the place is genius. Rather than strictly being a post-game experience, slowly making your way through the special world is something you're always doing. You're always sniffing out entrances. Some of these are really hard to find without looking it up, which I appreciate. Another great thing about the world is that it's full of little stories. 2D Mario doesn't need a big story with lots of characters, but this is yet another area where I feel like they managed to do a lot more without compromising the simplicity the series strides for. Characters actually speak, and each world has something of a narrative running through it. Bowser Jr. stole all the water in the desert. The mushroom miners are missing. There's a weird sage guy who wants to put you through a bunch of trials. It's not much, it's not crazy, but it makes a big difference to me. I like a little motivation, a little extra flavor, you know? It makes the game feel a lot less lonely. It's got so much more personality. So let's talk levels. One thing I love about Wonder is the variety of different kinds of levels. On top of regular levels, you've got badge challenges, which are very clever. It's a shame that each badge only has 2 challenges because building levels around specific abilities makes for some really interesting design. This is where you can't just play the game like a straight-up Mario game, and you can't rely on your favorite badge to cheese your way to the end. Then you've got these arenas where you've got to defeat rooms of enemies within the time limit, and these are way better designed than they needed to be. There are these really neat hide-and-seek stages where you gotta track down all the flower coins. They made this surprisingly difficult, I think because you're supposed to play online and get help from other people, but that just makes doing it on my own that much more fun. There's almost always that one coin that's weirdly hard to find, and doing this kind of activity in a Mario game is very novel to me. If they give us DLC, I would gladly take a whole batch of these. Even more, there are little break and bonus levels where something cute happens and you get a Wonder Seed, or you just get some coins. So between all that and splitting paths and poplin shops, it feels great to enter a new area and feel like there's just so much to choose from. This is where the free roam areas really make a difference. Variety and freedom of choice are really important to me, and Wonder often feels like a buffet of fun. And if this is a buffet, the prime rib they bring out after 3 o'clock is those regular levels. Back on the subject of surprise, we've got to talk about the Wonder mechanic. This could have been introduced in any game, but like I said earlier, Wonder knows that Mario was in desperate need of a creative shakeup. Making a game where the whole hook is crazy random stuff happens was very deliberate, and not knowing what's gonna happen when you touch that flower is a thrill. It turns every level into a little gift, a mystery box you just can't wait to open. The sheer breadth of Wonder effects is staggering. Sometimes the levels get weird, sometimes the enemies get weird, sometimes you get weird. Sure, sometimes the effects are slightly plain or underwhelming, but more often than not, they are fantastic. This is another case of the game's artists working overtime to make everything look perfect. The effects are all gorgeous and fun. The different visual themes that trigger and shift lend so much energy to each little experience. Even knowing that things were gonna get weird based on what I saw in the trailers, some of these effects still managed to shock me. Classic Mario design philosophy says every level should teach, develop, twist and then wrap up some sort of idea. But Wonder takes the twist part specifically to crazy new levels. This has a huge impact on the level design because now sequences are built around genuinely weird twists. Warp pipes coming to life and crawling around like inchworms. You and every enemy gaining the ability to stretch super tall, turning into a rolling spiky ball, gravity changing so that the game is now top-down like Zelda. It all makes for incredibly unique experiences, and it's a great way to introduce new ideas into the Mario formula without compromising it in any way. You can't change the way Mario plays at his core, but you can absolutely change how levels are structured around him, and you can change up his moves temporarily to match. Since I'm not a big fan of regular old 2D Mario, this variety and creativity is what keeps me going. The variety in gameplay modes isn't limited to the number of power-ups the game was given. There are so many different experiences to be had here that it's always a joy to see what's next. Exploring the surprise theme even further are these little flowers that are peppered throughout every level. The way I see it, these are wonder flower buds, and they're basically the same thing, just smaller and more subtle. Whenever you touch one, something happens. Often this just makes some coins appear, but other times they'll actually affect the level itself. Sometimes interacting with them is required, and I think these little flowers are the unsung heroes of this game. Touching one and seeing what happens is always satisfying. It's a little microdose of dopamine, a teeny tiny mystery box you get to open again and again. On top of being fun, these flowers are also used to guide the player throughout the level. It's a very subtle but very effective way to keep the flow moving and smooth out the player experience without too much trial and error. Usually coins are used for this purpose, but this is a lot more satisfying. I'm way more likely to bounce between these rather than plain old coins. And if you want to talk pure level design, Wonder excels. Wonder effects aren't just clever, they're implemented in genius ways. New enemies provide so many brand new experiences. To bring up Hoppycats again, these things are already clever, but then making a level where you're riding on a platform with a Hoppycat in it so you can use it to break blocks and stuff? You know they were all patting themselves on the back for that one. The game explores so many different themes and ideas, and for the most part, they're explored to a very satisfying degree. Sure, there are a few levels that don't quite land. Sometimes a level will seem a little too short, maybe too basic, like you just kind of wander through some platforms without much happening. Sometimes the duration of a wonder effect will be so short that you feel slightly deflated when you grab that seed. But the occasional dud doesn't detract from the game much at all. Overall, the design on display is fantastic. It's a classic Mario masterwork. It's another case of Nintendo's designers proving that they are some of the best in the business.
Woof, that level was hard, but I finally did it. Feels good.
Well, that was something.
I'm sorry, was there something wrong with how I handled that level?
Great! Impressive! Good for you.
No, that's not what your tone was just implying.
What a beautiful day!
Don't change the subject. Look, I worked really hard to beat that level.
Aw, you good? What's the matter? You tired or something? Maybe it's time for a break.
I mean, I am tired, but I don't need a break, and I did just fine. My performance was...
Bored.
I'm sorry, you're what?
Was it something I said?
Look, I am proud of how I did. I've been working out a lot. I'm feeling really good about myself.
Ew, what am I looking at?
What? What are you...
So jiggly.
I am not jiggly. My mom said I was looking slim.
Wow, you're in great shape.
Look, I know I've got a long way to go. I'm just...
Scraggly.
What? Scraggly? I just brushed my fur this morning.
You're all soggy.
Okay, I'm a little sweaty, I'll admit.
Covered in goo?
What? I am not covered in goo.
And the fish.
I do not smell like fish! All right. What's it gonna take to get you to stop making fun of me?
Coins!
But I am not going to pay you to not insult me.
Not that I mind the company, but shouldn't you be going? I didn't mean you should hang out.
Oh, well, fine then. I can see that I am very much not wanted here.
So, just between us, they're kind of annoying.
That is uncalled for. I was leaving.
Off you go! Woo!
You know what? No,
Zoom. See you later.
I'm not leaving until I get an apology.
See you later.
No, you have been insulting me this whole time.
Go, 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 go.
You have been insulting me and I don't deserve it.
Go!
Nope, you know what? You have dug yourself in too deep. I'm staying right here.
Why here? Why me?
You reap what you sow, flower.
I would really like to leave.
I'm sitting here and I ain't leaving.
How'd you even get in here?
Just enjoying the day.
I hate this.
That's funny because I'm having loads of fun.
You know, I wouldn't hang out here if I were you.
Oh, is it threats now? Is it a fight you're looking for?
You're a brave one.
Oh, yeah? Am I brave? Standing up to you?
You really gonna try it?
I just might.
Ooh.
Don't make me do it, flower.
Oh.
That's it, come here.
Ouch.
Stupid flower.
Hey, ah.
My fur isn't
What's
scraggly.
happening? Stop.
I do not smell
I
like
said
fish.
stop.
Yeah. You know what? This is not worth my time. I don't even know what you want.
Someone to talk to. It's scary being alone.
I think I understand now. You're stuck here all day. You just want a little company. So let's talk. Let's have a real conversation.
Thank you.
Don't mention it.
So, what you been eating lately?
Well, I've been eating better too. Like loads of veggies. You know, broccoli, cabbage, cauliflower. Do flowers like cauliflower? Eh?
Oh, you're clever.
Okay, just trying to break the ice. You don't have to.
Dead end here.
Oh, thanks. I'm a dead end, am I?
You're a wonder.
Just trying to help someone out.
This is wonderful.
Oh, great. So it's time for the wonder jokes, huh? How many of those do you think you can do before you get another knuckle sandwich?
Yes, I too wonder that.
All right, see you later.
And he's gone again. I'm all alone now.
I've got a lot of praise for Super Mario Bros. Wonder. I think in many ways, it's a near perfect game. Like, it had the potential to be one of those very, very rare perfect gaming experiences. But it's got one big flaw that I simply do not understand. What on earth happened to the bosses? I mean, what in the world? There are only a handful of Bowser Jr. encounters, and they're like, okay, not bad. The idea is that he's using wonder power to alter the stage between phases, and this is a really cool idea. It's an inverse of the primary wonder mechanic. It's the power turned against you. Now you've got to adapt to new scenarios as you would in a regular level. But they just don't do much with the concept. The changes are usually very small, and the fights still play out like regular old fights we've all done a million times. Wait for him to stop spinning and jump on his head. They could have done so much with these fights. They could have saved some of the wackiest wonder effects for these fights. They could have taken some of the new baddies and made you fight crazy, wondered-up versions of them. The stages could get super weird. You could have to fight the bosses while transformed. They could have taken themes from each world and injected them into these fights. Heck, I'm always complaining about the Koopalings because they're so predictable, but honestly, I found myself kinda missing them. This could have been a chance to give us a brand new spin on each one. The rest of the game exhibits such an incredible sense of design and creativity and style, and I simply cannot fathom why none of this carried over to the bosses. Some of the worlds don't even have bosses. The little stories in each world are fun, but when they end without any kind of final encounter and you're just handed the royal seed, speed? It's super disappointing. The only other thing that's similar to a boss is these airship robot things, and I mean, they certainly look cool. The first time I fought one, I couldn't figure it out. I thought I'd have to throw something in the robot's mouth, maybe, or no. Apparently all I had to do was jump up and hit this button. It literally took me extra time to figure out because the idea that there was nothing to figure out confused me so much. I assumed that there had to be more to it. And every encounter is like this. Sometimes it'll add new elements. Now it's full of bob-ombs. Now there are crushy things. But none of it matters because you literally just run forward and jump on the button. It's not even a high jump. You don't even have to do something to open it up. You just run up and hit the button and it's all over instantly. It's baffling. It's like they didn't even try. It's like they put so much work into literally every other aspect of the game that they didn't think of it. Then they were a week from launch and went, "Oh, nuts! We forgot the bosses!" And by then it was too late. This is one area where somehow the older games actually have a leg up over Wonder. Even the new Super Mario Bros. Games, probably. I'll at least say that the final boss is good. It needed one more phase to be completely satisfying, but the design is there. The enjoyability factor is there. We just needed to see that through the whole game. And on that note, the story is enjoyable for the most part. Bowser merging with a castle protected by a bunch of these rad cloud piranhas. Even just visually, it's fantastic. Yet another case of same old, actually feeling new again thanks to just a little more effort, more creative flair. But the whole game, it seems like Bowser is building up to some huge climax that never comes. The game alludes to a more exciting situation than the one that actually pans out. And that's a bit of a bummer too. The game's biggest mixed bag, however, is the badge system. Most of the badges really just boil down to giving you extra airtime or a higher jump. This is really useful, but that's actually the problem. In a Mario game, a higher jump is ridiculously useful, so any other kind of badge just seems worthless. Most of these badges I never use outside of badge challenges. Some of them are downright stupid. I mean, even within the collection of actually useful jump-related badges, the boosting spin jump is the only one I ever use. Why would I want to crouch for a second or bounce multiple times to get a higher jump when I could just hit R and control my extra jump exactly? I just wish I had more of a reason to experiment. Also, the levels were designed so that anyone can complete each one with any badge. So giving yourself the ability to jump extra high doesn't quite break the game, but it does let you cheese a significant amount of it. There are many instances where you need to do some very particular thing to get up on a ledge or grab a purple coin. You need just the right power-up. You need to bounce off an enemy. You need to pull off this maneuver with precise timing. Or, nah, just do a boosting spin jump and you got it. You just kind of got it. Flagpole? No problem. You don't got to deal with any of those most of the time. Badges make it a cakewalk. So, yeah, that's also a thing. Another big problem is only being able to equip one badge at a time. I definitely understand why they did it this way. Nintendo wants Mario to be simple and approachable. Letting you equip more than one badge would increase complexity dramatically, and then they would have to make sure that every badge interaction worked without breaking the game or causing problems. But maybe letting you equip one badge from each category would work, like one active badge that gives you an extra move and one passive badge that just works on its own? Just something to give us a little more room to experiment, because as it is, the system doesn't do as much as I feel like it should. However, even if it's a mixed bag, I am still a huge fan of the concept. Being able to customize your moveset in a 2D Mario at all is another sign that Nintendo is easing up on their over-reliance on simplicity. Any customizability is a huge win, and badges do make the game more fun. Having that extra Mario Galaxy-style jump just feels great. I don't often change up my badges, but when I do, it feels good, even if it's just for a badge challenge or some specific level. Suits and power-ups have always been around to augment Mario's moveset, but badges change it more subtly, and I think there's a lot of value in that. The game just needs to provide more opportunities to use each badge. Take the wall climb jump badge, for instance. Wall jumping straight up so you can land on the platform you're jumping from is crazy. That is a dramatic change from the usual. It makes Mario play more like Mega Man, but it doesn't really have much application outside of the badge's handful of challenges. But those challenges are so good. The second one is one of my favorite levels. It's so tricky and fun. I can see that the potential is there. The fun is there, even if it's not taken far enough. And even if the more passive badges aren't usually useful enough to use as your default, the ability to turn every power-up into a specific power-up is actually extremely useful in very specific cases where you want a specific power-up in a specific level, but you don't want to go farm it from another level first. It's another small thing, but a good one nonetheless. And if you want the game to be harder, easy. Just equip some throwaway badge and ignore the whole thing. I feel like even if I don't care about most of these badges, they offer excellent options for people wanting to do silly challenges. Beat the game using the badge that makes you jump all the time? Try to speed run using the one that makes you run super fast? Lots of potential for interested folks, even if I'm not necessarily one of them. At this point, now that we've covered badges and wonder effects, it's worth mentioning the game's new power-ups. And it's funny because I think they are very good. The drill creates a very interesting dynamic where you're using the edges of the level more than anything, and you really have to think about what you're doing and keep an eye out for cracks to slide through. The problem then is that it just doesn't feel like that many levels make good use of it. It's kind of a power-up that needs challenges to be built around it, and that doesn't happen much, which is a shame. The bubble power-up is a lot more all-around useful. Actually a little too useful, which is its own problem. It's kinda easy mode, really. You can spam bubbles to kill everything on screen and create platforms to help you get anywhere without much effort. The elephant power-up is good. It also kinda makes the game too easy, but it's a lot of fun to use, and spraying water is a really nice touch. The biggest issue with all these power-ups, though, is that they are overshadowed by the rest of the game. Generally, in a Mario game, it's the power-ups that let you augment your experience. But between badges and wonder effects, the power-ups end up feeling much less important. That's not a big problem. It just means the game is already so wild and varied and offers so many different control styles and abilities that power-ups feel a bit more forgettable. Not a bad problem to have, honestly. On the topic of controls, I do want to touch on them briefly to say that they're great. I haven't done a bunch of side-by-side comparisons or anything, but my gut tells me that Wonder feels a lot better to play than the new Super Mario Bros. Games. They just feel too floaty and awkward, but Wonder is perfect. It feels more like the classic games in the best way possible. The difference has to be extremely subtle because I really can't put my finger on it, but whatever teeny tiny little variables they tweak between games, they tweaked just the right ones here. Movement is snappy, not too floaty, not too slippery, always feels good. And you want to talk about Nintendo breaking out of the weird prison they built for themselves? This game's got control options. You can actually change stuff to suit your own style. How incredibly novel. The badge system is one brand new concept for Mario that aims to help refresh the formula, and online functionality is another. Nintendo is weird about letting people play together online. Sometimes it's okay, sometimes it's not. This is one of those times where they didn't want to give us straight-up online co-op, but they gave us a middle ground option that honestly suits Mario very well. And weirdly enough, they went with the Dark Souls approach of all things. The world is populated by player phantoms. You can see them running around the world map, and whenever you enter a level, you're matched up with a handful of other players. You can't help each other directly, and level progress is up to you and you alone, but you can at least watch each other and do little emotes, which gives the experience a fun sense of community. Players can even put down these standees so when someone dies, they can respawn without losing a life if they touch them fast enough. Then if people use your standees, you get heart points. You can even see when multiple people are playing local co-op with each other, so it's not always a case of everyone playing separately. Really, Nintendo did a great job of injecting the game with a community element that's approachable and falls in line with Mario's core philosophies. I think it's really cool, even if I don't personally use it. Just like with Dark Souls, I don't like playing online. I don't know. I don't want to see other people. I don't want them to reveal secrets for me or prevent me from dying. It's just not my thing. I did mess with it a little though, and I appreciate it for what it is. Collecting standees gives me something to do with my coins as well, so that's nice. The final thing to talk about is music. The music in Super Mario Bros. Wonder is very good. As with most things, it's a huge improvement over the new Super Mario Bros. Games. I'm a little disappointed to say, though, that this isn't Mario at the absolute top of his music game like I hoped. Nintendo music has overall been pretty hit or miss during the Switch generation, so I was really wishing for another banger soundtrack along the lines of Super Mario 3D World, which was the last Mario game that, in my eyes, or ears, had an abundance of overwhelmingly fantastic music. Odyssey was also very good, though the game's format made for a slightly less even listening experience. But Wonder was a chance for them to deliver another onslaught of catchy tunes, and they just didn't quite pull it off. I guess when you're hoping for the absolute best ever, you're not likely to be fully satisfied. I get that. However, the music here is good though. Like I said, plenty of very catchy tunes. I think I would have been happier if they had done some more plucky and weird music to fit in with the whole theme of novelty and breaking convention. Experimenting with different genres would have been very welcome. The a cappella stuff in the main theme is really good. That's an angle they could have hit a lot harder at the very least. Oh well. I've said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll probably keep saying it. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is the exact game the series needed. I mean, it didn't strictly need it. Again, new Super Mario Bros. Proved that it literally doesn't matter how you package a Mario game. As long as the basic ideas are there and the level design is good, the game is fun, people will be into it, because Mario is just that much fun. Wonder wasn't needed from a business standpoint. But, at the risk of sounding very full of myself, if you particularly appreciate Mario's artistic merit and want to see the series be all that it can be, Wonder means the world. And I do think Nintendo likes it when we appreciate their games on that level. You know, I don't believe that they're a soulless corporation churning out garbage as long as they know we'll buy it. I don't believe they did the bare minimum with the other games because they're lazy. I just think their priorities don't always match our tastes, or at least my tastes. They didn't feel the need to make Mario more, and that was fine with most people. But this time, they did make him more, and they did it very purposefully. They broke convention because they could finally see that at least artistically, they needed to. And the end result of throwing out most of the old limitations and going above and beyond creatively is the first truly remarkable 2D Mario game in decades. They always had it in them. They just needed to want it. And if I'm completely honest, there is a little part of me that sometimes struggles to simply enjoy this new Mario because I'm still kinda mad it took this long, you know? Like, little to none of this game takes advantage of modern hardware in a way that previous games couldn't have. Visual effects, sure, but like, for the most part, if you want to look at it in a more cynical light, Wonder proves that they've been holding out on us. Miyamoto mentioned how in this game, Goombas bite you when you touch them, because apparently that's always been what happens in Miyamoto's mind. That's why Goombas hurt you, even though they're just little blobby chicken nugget things with no arms. So why is Wonder the first time Nintendo chose to actually depict that in their entire history? They could have easily done it way back on the Wii or DS. Why did they wait until now to give a game more personality? Why did it take them so long to get it in their heads that they should make a 2D Mario that's actually interesting? I don't know. It's this annoying little voice in my head that's sometimes hard to shush up, telling me that the better this game is, the more mad I should be. But shush up, that voice shall, because it doesn't matter how long it took to reach us. Super Mario Bros. Wonder is a treasure. It's everything that makes Mario fun, that makes Nintendo games fun, cranked up to 11, shinier and more dazzling than ever, with a heaping helping of surprise just to make it feel that much more special. It's easily one of the best games on the Switch, and that's coming from someone who, if I really need to remind you, is not that into 2D platformers. platformers. Oh, but now, my friends, we come to the big question. Wonder is great, but is it great enough? Is it the best? Is it better than Tropical Freeze, the golden standard, the finest modern 2D platformer there ever was? I think probably not. If the bosses and the music were as good as I know they could be, perhaps. But maybe it hasn't been long enough to say one way or the other. For now, I'm too busy listening to singing piranha plants to care. Oh, this final badge challenge, man. I don't think I can do it.
Well, I mean, you could try another Wonder Flower.
No more Wonder Flowers. Oh, I can't take any more Wonder Flowers.
I've got a whole bunch of them right here.
You know what? Why not? At this point, I'll take anything I can get.
Whoa, slow down there, buddy.
Whoa. Whoa! Groovy, man. I'm really beside myself. I don't get it. Whoa! Swing your arms from side to side.
Hey y'all, Arlo here.